and you'll get a wee notification for you to press. Hello and welcome to this edition of Kaleidoscope Podcast, all about change and transformation. And my guest today is Jo Cantle of Becoming 360 Academy. Jo and I met again, as a lot of my guests, during lockdown. Jo has been a mentor of mine off and on since then, all about tapping. Jo, you helped me to break my addiction to chocolate, which was absolutely fabulous. I'd have been sitting here needed to go out and get chocolate. And I'd have had chocolate 4 or 5 times a day. Now I go for whole days and days without having chocolate. And it still amazes me. There's times I'm going, gosh, I've had no chocolate today. And it amazes me because that drive isn't there. And that's all thanks to Jo and her tapping, which is probably not anything to do with what you're going to talk about today. But I just thought it's a relevant story. So, Jo, as you know, the podcast is all about change and transformation. So the 4 questions that I'd like you to look at I'd like you to discuss are, what was life like before the change? What was life like during the change? What was life like after the change? And what the future holds? Not that any of us have a crystal ball, but as far as you can hope or plan. And I'm going to pass over to you to tell your story.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for asking me as well. And I still think back to that session and just think it was such an amazing tapping session to help you with your chocolate cravings. But you're right, that actually isn't what I was going to talk about today. For the benefit of your listeners, I am Jo Cantle from Becoming 360 Academy. That is a business partnership I run with the amazing Lisa McMurtry, and we basically train people to be accredited life coaches and holistic practitioners, and also soul-aligned business success strategy. So that is such a mouthful, and really it's a culmination of everything that I've been through to kind of like get to this point. So I refer to myself now as a wealth activation coach and trainer and speaker. And actually that title has had many derivatives over the years. So before I landed at this current title, I suppose I was working. Do you want to know what the transformation is? Do you want to know what the subject is? I guess that would probably be quite a good idea, wouldn't it? Okay.
That would, yes, please.
Yeah, that would be quite a good idea. Okay, so I refer to myself as a wealth activation coach, which means I am, I teach people how to raise their wealth consciousness and basically eliminate limiting beliefs around their money mindset. But when I was thinking about the subject matter, what I actually wanted to talk about is how, when I started looking through the lens of the relationship I had with money and abundance, and I suppose I called it money at that point. I didn't really understand about what abundance was, not in its true sense. So I was looking about, basically looking in my bank account and going, okay, my relationship with money, once I kind of really understood it, was an energetic relationship. If I look through the lens of my relationship with money, how I ended up kind of like healing all my past traumas and my relationship with myself as well. So that's actually what I wanted to talk about, because I talk about money manifestation, and it would have been easy for me to have said, oh, this is what happened before I knew about money manifestation and energy, and this is what's happened during, and this is what's happened afterwards, and blah, 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 blah. But I actually wanted to talk about using that lens as a kind of a portal to be able to heal myself. And that was, that's really the subject of my transformation. So I suppose back pre-lockdown, which is where I'm going to sort of take it from, I had been in a network marketing business for 16 years. So prior to that, I had been working in a job as a graphic designer and part-time as an aerobics instructor. And although I loved being creative and being a graphic designer, I really was, after 6 years, I was really bored, and I really knew I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I found something on the internet, And I sent off for the information and I looked at it. And again, there was one of these aspects, there's a lot with a lot of network marketing companies, I guess, is it sounds too good to be true. It looks all shiny and beautiful and nowhere near my sort of life and nowhere near my world, because it was showing me pictures of mansions and LA and stuff like that. And I was living in North Somerset at the time in Weston-super-Mare. So it was just like poles apart. But there was that part of me that was just excited enough to go, you know what, let me have a discussion about it. And I ended up talking to an ex-teacher in Huddersfield, so that kind of brought it back home a lot closer. It's sort of like, oh, actually it's real people doing this is not just sort of like some actors or whatever. So anyway, I started in this network marketing business, which was all to do with nutrition and well-being. And actually I really did enjoy it for the first couple of years, because actually what it gave me was a space where I could really expand my dreams. You know, being a graphic designer, I was working actually on out of a cowshed, a converted cowshed on a farm. And while it was lovely working in the countryside, you know, those dreams that I had in my 20s and my 30s of like travel and money and glamour and everything, because, you know, maybe a lot of us have, because that's what we think is aspirational. This suddenly gave me an opportunity to go, well, actually, it could be real. It could give me this hope. And I had a lot to prove, which actually goes to part of my story, I guess. I was out to prove I was good enough. And so once I'd got this opportunity, I was like, right, I'm all in. And you know, early 30s, I had the energy to do it as well. And I was pretty fit, which again helped with the energy. So it was like, all right, I'm going to go for it. And for about 2 years, I was probably working, easily 70, 80 hours a week at my network marketing business. And in that interim, I actually moved up north as well, up to South Yorkshire. And I became very successful very quickly. But it was all through hustle and struggle. Now, they taught personal development, but it's what I would say is very surface level personal development. You know, think positively, never talk about, you know, the rubbish, never talk about the negatives, only ever think positively. You can't talk about anything other than everything's great. And so because of that, it actually meant that anything I was feeling like anxiety, which I didn't recognize was anxiety, but worry or fear or whatever, I was just pushing down, you know, and I was just kind of like quelling, because I was like, oh no, I'm not allowed to have those feelings. I've got to be positive. So like I said, for about 2 years, my husband joined me in the business as well. He moved up north with me, and you know, we were working, and we got to a space where we were probably making around about £5,000 to £6,000 a month, which, you know, my graphic design salary had been about £900 a month. So this was like amazing. On top of that, we'd also gone on holidays, which we'd been awarded by the company, again, because we were just putting in so much work. The thing is what happens with people when they suddenly start getting a lot more money, and you know, a lot of people don't usually understand this, is your nervous system starts to freak out. Now, I can look back in hindsight and go, oh, I can see exactly what happened and why I started sabotaging myself. And it was because there was part of my nervous system saying, this isn't safe. You're an imposter. You don't deserve this. Who do you think you are? All of those things. And so consequently then, whereas before I was riding on this wave of energy and momentum and enthusiasm, it started to waver because I was starting to get burnt out, because there's only so many times you can keep doing that on just raw enthusiasm. And of course, there was negatives happening. People were leaving my team. Sometimes it wasn't always, you know, great feedback from people. You know, normal stuff, which you would get in any business. But I had actually no business experience at that point, so it was kind of like I took everything very, very personally, and my people-pleasing tendencies really came into the forefront at this point, because I was trying to appease everyone. And so basically then what happened was, you know, I continued to work hard. And after another 2 years, we got up to a level which, again, was significant, because we were we were earning about 10K a month. So I think our biggest month was like 14K, which again, given my imposter syndrome at 5 or 6K, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, really pushed it over the edge. And I think I pretty much imploded at that point. Because again, when you suddenly start making a lot of money, and bearing in mind, I was probably only about 34, 35 at this point. I was going to, like, I'd been to Monte Carlo, I'd been to, where else I'd been, lots of places around Europe. I think I'd been to America a couple of times, all of these. And it was just so far removed from my life in Weston and, Barnsley, that my nervous system completely freaked out. And of course, all I could think about was, oh, what if I lose it all? I have to work 10 times harder to keep hold of it, to keep everybody happy so they don't leave the team, and, that I don't lose it all. Because this is, it's like this fragile thing, because it really had been built on sand at that point. Although I will say I did, and I still do, love the products that I was promoting. So I definitely believed in the ethos of the company, and I definitely believed in the products. It wasn't, as a lot of people talk about pyramid schemes, it definitely wasn't that. It was, and still is a legitimate company. And it's been going more than 40 years. So I still very much believe in it. It's just that it was my mechanisms that were going on. And so this continued then for another 12 years, and it really was a roller coaster. I never got more success than I got in that 4 years. I repeated it once, I think, after that, within that next 12-year period where I hit the heady heights. But one of the things that did happen as well during that period of time is we actually nearly went bankrupt. And the reason being is because when you earn a lot of money, of course, and you don't have much business experience and you don't put money away for tax, the following year or so, you get a great big tax bill. But by then our income had dropped. And so, of course, we were probably on around about 3.5, 4 at that point. And, that for us was kind of survival money, because we were living on that and making our business run. And then, of course, we were hit with a great big tax bill. And I remember actually sitting and just, in complete freeze mode. We'd maxed out all our credit cards, trying to keep up this illusion of being really successful. Because that's the other thing, is you've got to keep up the illusion of being, successful to your team, because they think you're up at there. And actually it's come crashing down, because obviously when you're reaching for something, which we were a qualification, if you're reaching for something, you're working really, really hard, and then you relax, and of course when you relax, it goes, and bearing in mind, this was, we had done no kind of like mindset work really, other than gotta think positively, gotta, those kind of things. So so in the end, what happened was like I said, we'd maxed out all our credit cards. We didn't have anywhere to go in terms of money, and the only thing I could do is sell my nan's engagement ring, which was kind of like a gold and platinum and diamond ring. And I've had to do quite a lot of, obviously, mindset work and energy work around that, because of the I think it was kind of like that whole inner critic, that I kind of like then beat myself up about doing that. Although at the time, when your brain is frying, because you're just kind of going, I don't know where else to turn. I just need some money to be able to get through the next week. Okay. So yeah, it was definitely an emotional roller coaster. So I think in hindsight, because of that great big high and then that ultimate drop, and I'd only just thought about this, I think that's why the next 12 years I got diminishing returns, because of course you go into witness protection, don't you? You're never going to work as hard to get that success, because of course, if you've experienced the great big drop, why would you, if nothing has changed internally? And nothing had changed internally, because I was still working off masculine solar plexus energy. Now, during that period of time, the 12 years, I also developed my fitness business. And I think that, again, was in relation to, I do really love fitness, but also I was trying to find another way to bring in income, which wasn't reliant on the network marketing company. And I developed a really good fitness business. But of course, that meant I was out more and I was teaching, half a dozen, 7 classes, and I was physically teaching them, really putting all into it. So when it came to lockdown, lockdown happened and I turned 50. And you do start getting these little niggles and nudges from your body. I mean, I'd been very fortunate in the fact that, when I say fortunate, it was probably intentional in terms of, like, I had very few injuries, even despite all of the stuff I do. I was teaching Zumba, both like a higher level and a lower level, and also things like HIIT classes, circuit training classes, those kind of things, boxercise, all of those kind of things. It was so quite a lot. Plus I was, I'd be like, oh, I'm not fit enough, let's go for a run, let's go and do a race, so I was doing things like 10Ks and stuff. So you can see that I think there was probably a lot of anxiety energy that I was trying to burn off there at that point as well. I was just, even though I still had the dream of being like financially affluent, and also, like I said, the part of the illusion, I think, was we were still achieving all of the holidays, all of the awards. We went on so many different holidays, which I'm very grateful for, because the experiences I had were ones that I would probably have never given to myself, so I'm very grateful that we got to do that. So when lockdown happened, obviously, my classes had to stop, and I thought, well, I'm going to just put them all online. And but unfortunately, a lot of people just didn't want to work out online. A lot of my demographic were maybe mums with families, and they didn't want to work out in their dining room in front of their kids. My saving grace, I guess, was because I was teaching Zumba Gold to a group of more mature ladies, and they needed it to keep going. I needed it to keep going. So in the end, after a few months where I desperately trying to keep, my circuit classes going and, my higher level Zumba classes going, it just came down to my Zumba Gold classes, which, every Monday and Thursday at 12 o'clock, we were there and we were meeting up, and it became so important for all of us to be able to do that. So during this time, I'd also trained as a life coach previous to that. And I'd already got a relationship with Lisa through the network marketing company. We were good friends, and also we worked together. We collaborated quite a bit during like the last couple of years as well. And she had started her journey into sort of coaching and vision boards, and she was facilitating all of that. And so then what happened was I remember having a conversation with her and just feeling desperate. My network marketing business wasn't growing. Obviously, we'd had to change tactics because of going into lockdown. She understood, what I was going through because of her experience with her, her business in network marketing. And she just said, look, there's a mentor of mine. She's running a free challenge. It's all about, getting business online, that sort of thing. Why don't you do it? And I was like, okay, right. We all had plenty of time, didn't we, in lockdown? So it was like, yeah, let's go for a free challenge. So I jumped on this challenge, which I think was a 5-day challenge. And to be honest, I can't even remember what it was about, because all that woman had to say, I think I remember it was day 2. I was listening to her live, and all she had to say is, there's some of you in here who are law of attraction life coaches, and my ears pricked up. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I'd already qualified as a life coach, but when she said law of attraction life coach, I was like, it was literally like, when you see in those cartoons where it comes up across out of the, the rabbit comes out of the hole. It was like, oh, what's that? Because I had learned about law of attraction, but I didn't really kind of understand it. I liked the idea of it. I thought, yeah, like that. We'd all watch The Secret going, yeah, if I just think of something I want, I'm going to manifest it and it's going to be marvelous. I loved the idea of it, and I'd read The Secret and I'd listened to The Secret and Abraham Hicks and all of that, and I was like, yeah, I love this. Doesn't work for me. But the fact that she'd said it, I was like, oh, let me go and research that. So I went and found a law of attraction life coach course. It was just an online course, and I was like, let's just go and find out about it. And that was the jumping off point, because the life coaching course had been great. But again, the old imposter syndrome had reared its head, and I was like, oh, there's no way I could help somebody else. I haven't fixed myself. Okay. So I didn't do anything with it. But when this course came along, and with the support of Lisa and like the community of people that I was starting to interact with as well, and that's when it all kicked off. And so Lisa and I, we started a course at the end of that year, which was all around clarity and vision, which ended up being a membership, which then ended up being a business academy. And then from that, it spread it all into life coaching training and holistic practitioner training. So back to my subject in terms of how did the transformation happen? So basically, my whole experience in network marketing was hustle and struggle in the end. And of course, during that time, looking back, I can see what a poor relationship I had with money, but it was really a poor relationship with myself. And of course, all of the stuff that, all of the things I believed about myself at a core level, really, they were showing themselves within my behavior in the network marketing business, because I fundamentally thought I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve it. Now, my parents had owned a business for a couple of years when I was between 7 and 9, and they'd ended up going not completely bankrupt, but near as damn it. They got very, very close to bankruptcy. And because of that, money was very, very scarce. There was a lot of anger and frustration. And of course, as a child, and, I've got 2 older sisters, we learned that, you had to go without. That was it. Don't ask to go on the school trip. We did go on a few school trips, but don't ask to go to the ones abroad. Don't ask for new clothes. Don't ask, just don't ask, because it will either be met with a sort of the answer of, I'm not made of money, or it would be met with anger and, kind of frustration on whichever parent we were asking, directed at us as well. So you learned not to, and you learned to go without. And so, of course, what you end up believing is, I don't deserve, I don't actually need it. No, I don't want it. I don't need it. But of course, fundamentally, what is underneath all of that is because I'm not good enough. And when you're trying to build a aspirational business on that premise, of course, it was going to come crumbling down. Okay, so I definitely had my tower moment in terms of it all coming crumbling down. It would have been interesting to have had a tarot card reader at that point when we got the tax bill. Like, that was it. So basically, when I started doing more in the law of attraction and life coaching stuff, I was just really, just talking to people about, I'd opened a Facebook group, so I was really talking about life, self-love, confidence, all of that. And then I discovered tapping, EFT, and I took an online course, and it was great, informative, but again, I didn't feel the transformation within it. I then watched the tapping summit, and I saw a woman on there who was tapping around money blocks, and I went, oh, well, I definitely must have some money blocks, because look at what's happened. I'd also read Denise, what's her name, Denise Duffield Thomas's book, Get Rich Lucky Bee, and that again had, really went, oh, that would be an interesting area to work in. So these things kind of like coincided with me doing tapping and reading her book. So I started following this woman. It was a lady called Margaret Lynch. She's now called Margaret Lynch Rainier, and she's written a book called Tapping into Wealth. And started following her. And because it was lockdown, she was due to do a live. Training, but because of lockdown, she was like, oh, we can't get anybody here live. I'm going to broadcast it instead. And the offer she put out was, if you want to watch these 2 days live that I'm doing, this live summit, this live conference, her and a business partner, she said you could have it for $10. And I'm like, I'm in. So that was amazing. So for 2 days online, I watched Margaret and her business partner Bethany, and they were doing tapping around money, about self-confidence, and everything. I mean, it was just incredible. Then I ended up joining her membership, and then went on to do her certification. I don't think she does the actual tapping into wealth certification anymore. She's moved into a different area now, but that was the start of it. And from that was how I sort of like went, oh my goodness me, because the certification was actually, well, I suppose it took me a year to do it because there were a lot of modules, and with each module you had to swap with another person, so you had to deliver it and receive it, then go and do it with somebody else as well, like, you know, somebody who wasn't on the course. So it was like so much work to do. It was probably, I'm trying to think how many hours, but it was probably a good 300-hour or more certification. So it was not, it was not for the faint-hearted, and you got to go deep with your own stuff. And of course, during that time, what came up was childhood trauma, any fears, any anxieties. I mean, we were, you know, plucking them out like. I mean, the great thing is, you know, the people that I was doing these swap sessions with, you know, we were kind of holding this space for each other. You know, there were times when we were absolutely rocking, at times go, oh my God. And these things, as you know, EFT is tremendously powerful at, you know, suddenly you'll get this memory out of nowhere and you go, oh my goodness me, I did not know that was there. So during that period, I think, was probably some of the hardest, you know, because you're going through your own personal journey as well as helping facilitate for somebody else as well, and you're trying to make sense of it, and all at the same time you're going, but my bank account's not going up, what's happening here? Because you're going through this healing journey. Now, one of the things that had happened as a result of you know, my very poor business acumen during my time really working intensely in the network marketing business, was I had accumulated a credit card debt of £28,000. It wasn't one credit card, it was like several. And this was me gambling on the future, going, oh no, it'll be fine, I'll just put it on the credit card, I'll just put it on the credit card. I also had the very good skill of sticking my head in the sand about anything to do with money. So I wasn't tracking anything. I wasn't taking any kind of responsibility for the money. I was just like hoping and praying that I would bring in enough in order to be able to at least cover all my bills, but there was no strategy at all. So again, this is not a great premise for building a business. And so doing the sort of whole tapping into wealth certification, what it allowed me to do was actually start facing, first of all, looking your bank account, facing what was happening on a more kind of strategic, like what's happening in my bank account. And allowing the fear and the anxiety to come up when I looked in my bank account or when I was dealing with the credit card companies, to allow that to come up, and instead of squashing it down, actually going, what is there right now? What is there? And then using things like tapping, and later on I also became angelic Reiki attuned, and obviously also have gone on to do a lot of other kind of coaching modalities as well, which, you know, you kind of layer on and you go, yep, got to use that. So it was a real mixture of mindset and energy work. And so it started that path of me going, instead of going, look, this thing that's happening out here in the reality world of kind of like the you know, the money in the bank account and what's coming in, it's not just down to you working hard because you've worked hard. It's not just about you working hard. It's about you being energetically aligned with it. It's about you tuning into your mindset. It's about what's that inner talk, and where is that inner talk coming from? Like when you hear this, when you feel this disappointment in yourself, which maybe you feel in the pit of your stomach at times when you go to look in the bank account, or maybe you know, you had a really good discovery call with somebody, a prospect, and then they message you and go, oh no, I've decided to, you know, I can't afford it, whatever, and you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Instead of going, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to paper over the cracks and go and think happy high notes, no, I'm actually going to look at that and go, what's in there? What belief is in there? Yeah, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, and understanding that actually beneath all of that is this lack of willingness to receive, which obviously I work a lot with the chakras now. So understanding I had to regulate my nervous system around money, all in the root chakra, because I didn't even feel safe to receive it. And I had to feel safe to receive it through the sacral chakra and get all the creativity going. And I had to get out of my masculine energy and move into my feminine energy in the solar plexus, in order to feel, you know, worthy of receiving it as well. And then also with all the trauma that had happened, as a child, it was understanding how hurt my heart chakra was, and that was the seat of abundance, and that actually that was where the healing had to take place. And it wasn't just as straightforward as like just not refusing to look at my bank account. It was my inner child going, I need to keep you safe. And that was the heart of it, really. And looking back, and I've done a lot of inner child work with my EFT, with my angelic Reiki, sometimes with others, sometimes with just on myself. I do a lot of self-coaching, as I'm sure you do too. It's kind of like you can't help it. You feel something, you go, oh, what's that? And you're on the witch hunt. So it was starting to reparent that inner child who kind of was always in the corner crying, or in the corner just being like, don't see me. I need to be invisible. I need to be invisible so that you won't hurt me. And it was a lot of opening up that heart chakra to be really gentle with her again and say, you're safe, you're okay. Do you know what? You're amazing, actually. Because one of the things that I recognized was, in my effort to try and prove myself the whole time, it was really just my inner child wanting love, because again, often when we're children, and I understand, and I do understand with empathy and compassion what my parents went through. I mean, I do understand, actually, because it turns out I duplicated what they did, replicated. Isn't it interesting how we generational trauma? But really, that when they were going through what they went through, then what it actually meant was there was emotional neglect. Okay. And completely understandable, because they would have been in complete freeze mode. However, 3 young girls going through whatever they're going through at that time, recognizing that we, again, without blame, but we had emotional neglect going on. And when your needs are not being met, of course, you don't think I'm unlovable. Nobody's going to like me. Nobody's even going to want anything from me. And of course, that keeps getting validated. I was bullied at school, that all gets validated out there in the real world. And again, I can see that in hindsight. And of course, that's where a lot of the healing has had to take place. So it's kind of interesting, because one of the questions you said is like, what happened during the change? And I think I'm still changing. I'm still going, because I think I've just gone through another up level just recently as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It never stops. So what's happened during? So I think basically, if I said what happened after, I did the Tapping into Wealth certification and then went on to do more, every coaching or healing modality I've done. So I'm now an EFT master trainer, angelic Reiki master, and master coach. Again, I listen to that and I go, oh, there's still a little bit of proving energy in there. Yeah, definitely. But also, as a lot of us who are lifelong learners, because it's actually our soul going, oh, I'm looking for answers. I'm looking to remember who I really am, has been my own search for the healing. So through all of learning all of those modalities, it's about trying to reconnect with me and understanding me a lot more. So directly after that, obviously, Lisa and my business, Becoming 360 Academy, has expanded and expanded and expanded. I have developed a lot of the money mindset and wealth activation programs. We now have a program called Up Level, which is a wealth activation 6-month program, which we launch every year. I've just opened up an advanced spiritual millionaires club for anybody who's done my wealth activation program. I've created a law of attraction wealth practitioner diploma, and I'm just beta testing a new program called Chakra Money Alchemy. So for me, it's again helping, like, with all the knowledge that I've learned about money, chakras, relationship, wealth activation, all of that I have put into my work through Becoming 360, and everything I do within there. So that's so that I can pass that knowledge on to other people. And you asked about the future as well. So I've just recently feel like I've gone through another kind of like transformation of levelment, and it was really through the because I was creating this Chakra Money diploma. I was doing a lot more research, because my aim with the Chakra Money Alchemy Diploma was that it was both mindset and energy transformation through the chakras. So any energy that people were holding on to around money or the self-belief or whatever it is, because it all ends up being about themselves anyway. It just, as I say, money becomes the portal. That we could transform it using energy and mindset work. And so that was the intention. And because when you're developing a diploma, you're doing your own research about what you can bring into it through that. And I have no idea why I've never come across it before, but everything happens for a reason and in the right time. I came across the 4 Levels of Consciousness by Michael Beckwith-Smith. And within that, I went, oh, you've totally been in victim mode, haven't you? So for those of you who don't know what the 4 levels of consciousness are, you can look them up. But basically, it's victim mode, which is the first level, which is everything is happening to me. And then there's manifesting mode, which is everything is happening through me, which is where I was probably in my network marketing business, because it tends to be a lot more about solar plexus kind of making things happen. And then level 3 is consciousness mode, which is by me, which tends to be kind of like, where people are really getting into their manifesting power. So they're starting to understand about, the masculine and feminine. And then the 4th level of consciousness is as me, which is unity consciousness, which means we are God consciousness. And it was like really, it was a smack between the eyeballs when I learned that, and I went, you have totally been in victim mode again. You fell into that again, didn't you? Like, why is this happening to me? And we can all go, we can all do that. We're all up through the levels. But one of the things I now, as a daily practice, through meditation, I am asking the question, who am I? And I've been reading Untethered Soul by Michael Singer recently, and also at the same time just coming to the end of an Audible book. My husband gave me Untethered Soul because I'd asked him for it for Christmas, so I've got the actual paperback of that, but I've been listening on Audible, the A Happy Pocket Full of Money, and I always forget what his name is that has written that book. But anyway, they're both talking about the same thing, which is, we are one with the one, and we are like this unity consciousness. And in the Happy Pocket Full of Money, I think it is, or is it the other one? Can't remember. I get them confused because they're similar. It's about stepping out of and being the thought behind the thought. So that's one of the things that I'm consciously doing now, is stepping out, trying to step out from the ego and trying to be the thought behind the thought and connecting with that, so that I can connect with the oneness. At the same time, I am also just started my yoga instructor training, okay? Which I am using as, again, a spiritual development process, because this again is about stepping away from the ego, being present, being grounded, being the observer, being the witness to my life, as opposed to being in there making it happen and all of that. So I have, really this year has been, again, kind of like transformational. I hit 55 on the 9th of January, and so that for me was kind of like, oh, that 5 years went quick, didn't it? Another 5 years is going to go really quick, so we best. And again, I hear the ego in that going, well, you're going to be 60, and you're like, and and you're going to be 60, why is that a problem, sort of thing. So, but I kind of feel like I've started stepping on it again. So I know I've been in a lot in my masculine energy, but I just feel that impetus of now is time. I think I'm also coming out of perimenopause, which is also, when I say I think I'm coming the other side, which I think is also pivotal, like suddenly I have energy. Yay. So I think in terms of what the future holds, I don't know. I just know it's going to be amazing. I have my goals, I have my aspirations. Lisa and I have, a vision of what we'd like to create for Becoming 360 in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. We know it's going to be to do with transformation of other people's lives. The coach training is going to figure in that, but also I think retreats as well. I think, both of us really enjoy putting on retreats and holding transformational events for people, which are physically there. So I think that definitely, we've got some plans but personally, I think I'm just going to keep playing with this, divine oneness. I think that sounds like fun, and see where it takes me, and keep looking through the lens of I would say wealth identity. It's no more money. It's not money mindset anymore. It's wealth identity. It's who am I being? Who am I being in relationship to life and abundance, as opposed to who, how much money can I get in my bank account? Whilst, I'm really open to avalanches. You're listening one with the one. I'm open to avalanches of abundance always, but abundance comes in many forms. It's not just about the money. This in itself, me connecting with you, having the opportunity to speak about my journey, is an abundant opportunity of which I'm really appreciative of. Me connecting with you and of having the opportunity to have had some time where we impacted each other's lives, because you impacted mine with that session as much as I impacted yours. And you sharing your story with us at times when, because you've come into our group and shared your story with us, that to me is also abundance. And connection is so important for us, I think, as well. So yeah, I said I don't think it was going to be that long, but I think it's actually turned out to be longer.
And we say what, as I said to you, the theory is that a good podcast is about 30 minutes long. And I said to you, but if it's a good story, they'll go, people's attention will stay. So the funny thing, and you do exactly what I do, whenever something happens with me, I tend to look to the left and go, what? For my inner child to tell me what's going on. But on my desk, I also keep a picture of me. Now it's not as young.
I've got mine as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm working on something and I feel a wee bit, I just look at her and go, what? So absolutely, for me, a lot of it is our nervous system, past trauma. And again, our parents, our peers, our grandparents, our teachers, whoever they were, did not set out to traumatize us. It was whatever was going on in their lives. They didn't, and for some, they didn't understand psychology, etc. They hadn't gone on the healing journey. If we were to go back now and say, "Do you know you did this?" They'd be going, "No,
absolutely,
no." They'd be. So absolutely, I get. It's not about blaming. It's about learning. This is what is, and we have this lovely thing. As well, about looking at our families and go, you have three older sisters. I previously had two brothers and an older sister. One of my brothers has passed now. And looking and going, we were all raised in the same family. Why is their experience with money so different from mine? And yada yada yada. And it's, well, my eldest sister, she was alone for 2 years. So my parents parented her in the way that they parented her. She was the eldest. Then the twins came. They were parented very differently because they were A, boys, B, twins, and they were younger than her. And then I was 10 years later than her and 8 years later than them. So even though and your parents have grown in whatever way. Yeah. And my parents nearly ended up bankrupt at one stage. The accountant ran off with their tax money. It's funny. It's always the tax man. But they'd been saving their money with, it wasn't that they didn't know their business. They really did know their business, but they were saving their money with the tax man or with the accountant, and he ran away with it. And I was living at home when that happened, which is why my relationship to money is so different from my siblings. So it's that sometimes you go, we're all in the same family and we were reared by the same person. Why? Because not, and so even your sisters, where they are, it depends who was the eldest, who was the middle, who was the youngest, what ages you were when this thing happened to you, and so on and so forth. So it can be surprising how we gain that victim mentality where we're like, well, why is it all happening to me? Why are they not suffering the way I see?
Yeah.
And you kind of got to, no. And part of it is as well, I believe that I'm the cycle breaker for the family.
I believe that, and because you're the youngest, I'm the youngest, and I believe that I am also the generational cycle breaker.
Yes, and it is for me. It's the generational stuff as well. I'm in the middle of doing it, and that's why I say none of us have a crystal ball to know what the future holds. Because one of the ladies I was interviewing for the podcast is a sound healer, and she has a sound course. And I got access to that. And the very first one took me down a whole generational, like to the 14th century type generational stuff. Was so, so powerful. So you never know whenever you're going to come across something like that, that is again going to upgrade you or change, or it's going to help you
Yeah.
change direction, or it's going to help you. And the downloads and the stuff that I've decided to do in my business since that, which is why in the group I know I'm going, I don't know what to, I'm a little bit lost because it's like I was going this way and I was quite certain I was going this way and this was, and then it's like, right, okay, we're over here now. We're doing this. And like, okay, quick change. And no, I don't, little, but it's exciting lost because it's lovely stuff that's coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so thank you so much for all of that. That was fabulous. And the mention of all those books to allow people to know where to go to look for some information. And of course, they can come on to your website, Becoming 360 Academy.
Becoming360training.com. I don't think we've changed it over to because we've only just gone into being academy, because prior to that we were working under training. So it's becoming360training.com.
And on Facebook, both you and Lisa separately, but also under Becoming 360.
Yeah, there's a page called for Becoming 360. So it's 360. So Becoming 360.
Yes, the numbers, Becoming 360, the numbers. And I actually, because we circulate in this world, I am one of your guinea pigs for your wealth activation. I'm one of the practice clients for one of your ladies going through your
Oh, of
chakra.
course. Yes, of course you are. Yeah, because you're in my,
Yeah.
because we have a membership. Well, no, actually, it's no longer a membership. It's a free group called Soul Tribe, Becoming 360 Soul
Yes.
Tribe. So anybody, so it's a free group. Anybody can come in, and we were looking for case studies, and we put it in, and it suddenly went boom, 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 and you were one
We're
of them.
there. We're there.
And I was like, okay, yeah, we're good.
Um, So to finish off the podcast, Joe, I always ask three, and it's entirely up to you. Some people, I know the reason I ask three is because if you ask me my favorite book, I would go, and it's usually what I'm reading right now, or it's
Yes,
one that
yeah.
stood out for me this year. I don't have a favorite book. It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
probably, actually, that's not true. If you said what's your favorite book, it's probably like Winnie the Pooh or something. It's not
Mine
really.
would be the Wishing Chair or something like that, by Enid Blyton.
So I ask favorite book, favorite phrase, or what you would tell your younger self. And it's entirely up to you whether you want to answer all three or just one of those.
Okay. So I think one of the most pivotal books was Tapping into Wealth by Margaret Lynch. Favorite book, I'm going to say currently, was the one I read at the end of last year, which was the Miranda Hart. Haven't been entirely honest with you. Brilliant mindfulness book. And what was a favorite phrase? Well, I think right now my favorite phrase is "Who am I?" Because that actually brings me back to the present moment. It brings me back to, like, whenever things are, sometimes, when things spin, or when I'm sort of like in my head too much, I'll be like, who am I? And I can feel, it's almost like that physical movement of like, because it's almost like I step back into that presence, in my mind and everything. So who am I is probably my favorite phrase right now. And what would I tell my younger self? You're loved.
So,
You're loved.
yeah, brilliant. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming along. I really appreciate it. As usual, we will put all the details below or wherever of how people can contact you and get in touch with you and in touch with the Becoming 360 Academy.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.